In this video, we're going to discuss Article 110.16b, or Service Equipment. This section of the NEC specifically deals with electrical service equipment like electrical panels or distribution systems in places other than dwelling units or homes. It applies to buildings such as commercial, industrial, or large-scale facilities. If the electrical service equipment in these locations is rated for 1200 amps or more, it must have a permanent label applied to it. This label must provide some crucial information about the system's safety to help workers who may need to service or maintain the equipment. So what must this label include? The label that is applied to the service equipment must contain specific details to help workers understand the safety and handle the equipment properly. Here's what it must include. Nominal System Voltage. This tells the voltage of the electrical system, such as 120 volts, 240 volts, etc. Knowing the voltage is important because higher voltages can be more dangerous. It must also include available fault circuit at the Service Overcurrent Protective Device. This refers to the maximum amount of fault current that the system can handle before the protective devices such as circuit breakers trip or shut down the power. This helps determine the potential severity of the short circuit or fault in the system. It must also include clearing time of Service Overcurrent Protective Device. This is how long the protection device, like circuit breakers, will take to shut off the power if there's a fault or a short circuit. This is important because the longer it takes for protection devices to react, the greater the danger of an arc flash or equipment damage. It must also include the date the label was applied. The date when the label was applied to the service equipment is also required. This helps keep track of when the information was last updated or verified. However, there is an exception to this rule. If an arc flash label has already been applied to the equipment according to the industry standards such as the NFPA 20E standard, then the additional service equipment labeling is not required. So why was this rule created? The purpose of this rule is to enhance safety by providing workers with the most important information they need when working with high-powered electrical systems, especially in commercial and industrial settings. These systems can be extremely dangerous, especially if they are rated for 1200 amps or more. By requiring this permanent label, workers are better informed about the voltage, the fault current, and the clearing time of protective devices, all of which can be crucial in preventing accidents and planned safe work procedures. What are the benefits of this label? Increased safety. Workers can assess the risk of working on the equipment before beginning, so they can take appropriate safety precautions. Another thing is clear information. Having critical details like fault current, voltage, and clearing times right on the equipment means workers don't have to guess or search for the information. Next is compliance. The rule helps ensure that companies are following safety standards and avoiding potential legal liabilities. And finally, better planning. This information helps electricians plan for proper protective equipment like gloves, face shields, etc. they need to wear when working on the system. Let's walk through an example to help us understand. Imagine you're an electrician working on a large electrical panel in a factory. This panel is part of the system that handles 1200 amps, which is a huge amount of power. You open the panel to do some work, but before you touch anything, you see a label on the equipment that provides the following information. Nominal System Voltage. It says 480 volts, so you know the system runs a high voltage. It tells you the available fault current. It says there could be up to 50,000 amps of fault current if something goes wrong. That's a lot of power, and if you don't know how severe a fault could be. It tells you the clearing time. The label says the circuit breakers will cut off the power within 0.1 seconds. This is a short time, but it still tells you that if something goes wrong, you should expect the breakers to trip quickly. And finally, we have the date applied. You see that the label was applied last month, so you know that information is current. Because of all this information, you know to take extra precautions, maybe wearing an arc flash mask and clothing to handle the equipment carefully. Without this label, you might not have the information you need to assess the risks involved, and you could make a mistake that results in injury or damage. In short, Article 110.16b requires electrical service equipment rated at 1200 amps or more to have a permanent label that includes key safety information. This label must include the voltage, fault current, clearing time, and the date it was applied. This rule was created to improve safety by giving workers the information they need to work safely on high-powered systems. If an arc flash label is already applied to the equipment, this extra label is not required.